Hello, everyone. Neagat here. Hope you guys are having a great day, especially with the coronavirus going around. I hope you guys are having a fun time staying inside. Today, I am bringing you a fun match between myself playing the red pieces and my opponent, uh, Kaitaro, playing the blue pieces in the bottom right corner of Ravaged AA4. If this is your first time seeing any of my videos, basically what I like to do is I like to make videos on Littlewargame, and there's players that like to go for certain strategies and special things like that, and I basically try to go over some cool videos about that kind of thing. Let's go ahead and get into the game. So for myself, as we can see so far, I'm going for a standard barracks play, and it looks like my opponent is going for a fast expansion. I think this is a nice opening that I used to go for. I haven't done it in a while. Typically, what I see Kaitaro go for is a two-den opening, or he'll play barracks against me, and so I'm pretty familiar with that play style, at least mostly. But for myself, I like to go with my tried and true barracks opening with two raiders, and I'll be able to scout out what my opponent is going for at that time of the map. We can go ahead and speed up so we can see the progression of things that are happening. So the raider comes out. Looks like my opponent is going for for his barracks. So he's finally going into that production, and then by the time my raider gets to his side of the map, we are a little bit fast. I do a little bit of harassment, but I'm also getting the second base started and having my second raider moving on the other side of the map. Now at this point, I'm basically trying to use this raider to scout, also to harass. So seeing his barrack here gives me plenty of information to know that he is simply, he's gone for a two base. He's gone a little greedy, and he doesn't have that many units at this point. Sadly, I do lose this raider, so was macroing at home, making sure that I started production on this house. You know, if there's something I could always learn from this game, it is to make sure that I'm always microing appropriately. So we go ahead and see that Kaitaro, when he gets this the second raider out to protect his base, he does a very good job of stopping my harassment from that side of the map. At this point, I can go straight into dealing with my macro, getting the second barracks, and afterwards, I knew my opponent hadn't gone for barracks until a very later point. So I basically kept on the raider production, which is a variation from what I normally do. And so as you can see here, my raider gets on this side of the map. We do a little bit of harassment towards each other, and I get that raider kill. While at the same time, my opponent is killing off this worker that was manufacturing that barrack. So that's just, it's too bad. I was focusing on microing this raider while he was killing workers there. I do see that this raider is here, and so it's not until about this point where I'm microing my slightly injured workers away from that raider. Kaitaro, he's got raiders all over the map basically, and so he's in a good position with these two raiders to kind of scout and position himself. While this is all going on, I decide to go for a slightly greedy third base. And this is greedy because I don't know if my opponent has gone for additional army production, which he is producing on two bases pretty consistently. But my logic at this point is that I've produced this archer, and the point of this archer is to kick away these raiders if they do decide to show up. And so basically with that now, I'm able to keep these raiders at bay, at least mostly. I will have two raiders being produced, and I do decide to pull workers here, so just keeping my opponent away. But as you can see, I'm playing basically playing by the seam of my pants, really. The amount of um, risk that I'm taking in order to get ahead on production, to get ahead on my bases, um, is kind of not worth the risk, as we can see. But I am on my third base. I am producing workers, and I did end up having a little bit of a resource issue there. I was floating a bunch of resources, and as we can see, just taking a gander at my bases here, the fact that I'm not producing workers out of my first base does become kind of an issue. We'll see how that goes. So definitely a theme of my play recently is that I could be doing a lot better at manufacturing while microing my workers. So, like I'll micro this worker, I'll quickly go back to base, and then I'll keep an eye on what exactly is going on. Looks like Kaitaro during this process, he's gone for an advanced workshop, as well as an expansion to his third base. So very well played by him, deciding to go for his tech structures. Whereas for me, I decided to go for that early third base, trying to get ahead on economy as much as possible. So this is going to be a pretty good drop, it looks like. I don't have any defenses in place besides those 2 archers at the second base. 3 archers now. And so Kaitaro is going to have a great chance to kill a lot of these workers pretty quickly. And so a tip to try and deal with the situation is if you queue the workers on a gold mine, like if I would have queued these workers to head over to this gold mine, they would have all been able to walk through those raiders without taking any collision, without any collision stopping them or slowing them down, basically. This was another thing that I thought Kaitaro did a really good job of doing. Keeping his building spread out at this point. Like you have this wall at your second base, like I have a wall at my second base. But then this is something that I really only see Kaitaro doing, where he builds his buildings out away from his bases. And he kind of uses that as a early defense warning. Like if my army was to approach from here, and then he had these buildings, my army would be slowed down because they would automatically, try to kill this building because they would be on move command, and then that would give my opponent a lot of time to, position himself, getting ready for that fight, as well as slowing me down. So very, very intriguing. At the same time, he's doing a really fantastic job of just putting a lot of harassment down. And so that was something I was thinking about doing. I was thinking about running by with this set of units, but this airship is doing a fantastic job of getting value, especially when I'm basically forced to stay home and on 3 bases while he can expand freely and do what he needs to do. It's also a great way for him to keep tabs on what my position is on the map. So he can use this airship to scout out my potential 4th base location, as well as keeping a raider here. So he knows that I'm going to be on 3 bases for a while, which is very, very good of him. At the same time, he can even use them to harass my 3rd base here. So which is exactly what he decides to do. He drops his raiders in, and he starts the harassment there. I have units to answer for that. Well, here I send my soldiers to basically do a run by of his 3rd base, basically trying to see what units he has there. And I really should have pulled these units back, but as you can see, with this building placement, he really was able to stop me, put himself in a better position to address my units there, and afterwards he was able to move forward. Kaitaro doing a really good job of getting to his 4th base on time, which is really nice. At the same time, I'm going for my 4th as well, trying to stay at least even economically, which is pretty good. Kaitaro going for this mage switch, so he's already got a church for healing. He's already got that advanced airship or advanced workshop, so he's easily capable of getting airships and things like this, while also going for his ranged upgrade. So my opponent is very his choices of tech is really good for him, while at the same time being able to be on 4 bases and having a fantastic economy, as we can see here. Myself, I decided to go into upgrades. So I feel like I have a good amount of army here, at least to defend with, and personally, I like to get upgrades when I'm on 4 bases, and so I'm very curious to see when Kaitaro decides to go for his upgrade structures, which will be very interesting to see indeed. As we can see here, he's got basically somewhat of a raiding force assembled to basically scout out what I have going on at my 4th base. I do have these units at home that could basically be pulled very quickly to defend against any potential things. While this is all going on, however, we can see that my opponent has these raiders coming in to do a little bit of harassment, and I have this addressed at least slightly, especially with these units there. So he does a fantastic job of trying to harass my bases, and I basically have an answer for that by getting my units there. While he's putting all this pressure out, he's now going for his upgrades. He's got his 5th base up, and he's constantly producing out of all of his barracks. So he's maxed out at this point, and he is building the barracks to potentially remax after a critical fight. Whereas for myself, I feel like I'm a little bit stuck here. The fact that my opponent was able to put so much pressure on these bases here basically means that I will be hard pressed to get enough units or to get enough strength to branch out into a 5th base location and potentially a 6th base location in these locations. So as we can see here, I think this worker is the worker I decided to send out to try and do something like that, or maybe this one here. At the same time, I feel like I'm of a place, at least in strength, where I can kind of move out and see what my opponent is going for. So I send this unit to defend my 4th base, and I just send these units there to basically assault my opponent's potential 5th or 4th base location and try and basically raid him, at the same time going for a 5th and 6th base of my own. At this point, my opponent sees my army that I have here, and he decides that now is a great time to go ahead and take this engagement. So I feel like I have the power to overwhelm him at this point, but as we can see, he has actually sent his units around to go ahead and put pressure on me. These buildings I was talking about earlier did a fantastic job of slowing down my my army from being able to be productive, especially in this fight, and then my opponent being able to use his clever shrouds to really stop my archers from being able to get a lot of value. All the while, Kaitaro doing a fantastic job of microing multiple engagements around the map, sending his raiders to my 3rd base, sending some harassment units to my 4th, as well as pulling his main army to deal with this threat closer to his 5th base. So Kaitaro definitely has an idea of where my economy is, as he is able to clear out the workers in my 4th and in my 3rd base location, as well as baying down 1 base and having a very unsecured base at that location. So really well played by Kaitaro. At this point, I decided GG. I've run out of economy to really be successful in this game, and I was really happy with my opponent's play. The fact that he was able to get 2-4 bases and then being able to constantly harass with that raider play. That's actually a play style that I used to play a lot more often, where I would go for I would go for 2 raiders in the beginning, and then I would get 2 soldiers, 3 archers, and send an airship to the other side of the map. It's not a play style I've played in a while. Right now, I like to open with a church, with that church right there. So very interesting to see how this RAX versus RAX playstyle worked out. Very well played by my opponent. I thought that was a fantastic game, and good game to him. If you guys enjoyed my videos, please leave a like, subscribe, and if you noticed anything that you thought I could have done to play a little bit better, or if you saw something that was interesting to you, go ahead and leave a comment about it. I'd love to go back and analyze what it is that happened in that video. All right, guys. Hope you had a great time watching this game. See you in the next one. Bye bye.